Let us deal with the chapter of gravitation under class 11. Now, why do we have to do with gravitation, or why do we have to learn gravitation? And the reasons behind this are innumerable reasons. Like, for example, a person is standing on the surface of earth, or a building is it's in position. Buildings do not move. A person standing will not move until and unless he puts an effort to move his legs by muscular nature, and he moves. That means buildings, you say, you take trees, we consider mountains, all these are not moving from their positions, and the only reason behind this is being gravity or gravitational force from our earth. And apart from this, the main interest behind this, when we come down to eastern countries like our country, our own motherland, we have sun signs, astrology. This whole concept behind astrology is nothing but the force of attraction, that is nothing but again gravitation. And one more example, if we can see, you might have seen in news channels or some certain videos where people in the space shuttles or people on the moon do not sit in a position. They keep on flying from one position to another. They keep on moving. And whereas it doesn't happen over here, no, on earth we stand in a position and we are there. But it's not so in case of our satellite, natural satellite like moon, or in the spacecraft. Why? Because due to the difference in gravity. You might have studied in your earlier classes that the gravity on moon is 1/6 times to that of gravity on earth. And that is the thing why we have to deal with this gravitation. And coming to the people who did with their studies on gravitation, you might have come across this equation, F is equal to gmm by r square, a very famous equation. Somewhere in 9th standard you might have come across with this equation, a very famous equation, and we know that this equation had been formulated by a very prominent scientist of that period named Newton. But originally this equation hasn't come from the only effort of Newton. Before Newton we had so many scientists who put their discoveries of for about 2000 years. All those formulations, all those theses or the hypotheses, we can say, have been formulated, have been studied and finally formulated by Newton into this particular equation. Let us see with certain history before this equation. The history before this gravitation or the gravitational force, first we have certain some philosophers, prominent well-known philosophers. You might have known with this, a person named Socrates. He was actually his discoveries or his notations or his theses were considered as mad. He is considered mad by people of that age. Even his wife considered this person named Socrates as a mad fellow. The reason behind it is Socrates formulated with a theory called as geocentric theory. Now, what do you mean by this geocentric theory? Geocentric theory states that Earth is the center of the universe and all the planets revolve around this Earth in certain paths called as orbits, Earth being the center of the universe. Similarly, followed by Socrates, we have another person named Plato. Plato also supported the same thing. And the next, followed by Plato, we have a scientist named Aristotle. This Aristotle also gave the same thing. Also, Aristotle supported the same theory, the same old geocentric theory, where Earth is the center of universe. And then we have a certain after a certain period of time, we have a king called King Ptolemy 16 of some Egyptian countries. We have In those days, no, the king's name was not prominent. Ptolemy or Pharaoh, these are actually the designations given. Among those, this Ptolemy was a particular king who was interested in this space, studies on space. Okay, like watching out on stars, watching out on the moon, looking into the space, observing the sun, the movement of sun and all. So he also supported the same old geocentric theory. Maybe he formulated certain evidences, maybe. And next we have a prominent philosopher named as a Tycho. This person also formulated with so many theories with respect to gravitation, and he wrote papers and papers, bundles of equations have been formulated, bundles of theses has been formulated in those papers. After the people say that after his death, one full room has been found with the bundles of papers with so many writings among them. That was Tycho. This Tycho is found by another prominent person, Galileo Galilei. Now, who is this Galileo Galilei? We all know that a person behind telescope is Galileo Galilei. Now, this Galileo Galilei has been observing the space through his telescope, and he found that, or he formulated a theory named as a heliocentric theory. He formulated something called heliocentric theory. Now, what do you mean by this heliocentric theory? It's not Earth which is the center of universe, it is Sun which is center of the universe, and all the planets revolve around the Sun in circular paths, in certain paths called as orbits. We are not dealing with the circular or the elliptical paths as of now. Certain paths called as orbits. That is going to be heliocentric theory. And till this Galileo came, it was like 2000 years. From this 2000 years, all these persons have been observing with, or have been considering geocentric theory is a correct theory. That is what happens. That is only there. Sun, Earth is at the center, and all the planets are revolving. And the reason behind these persons believing in this particular theory, geocentric theory, is if suppose Earth is revolving, or Earth is rotating, or Earth is moving, why people standing on Earth are not moving? Based on that one criteria, people till 2000 years have been believing this particular geocentric theory. And then when Galileo started telling his heliocentric theory, people objected. It was like a political pressure has been created on this person not to reveal his theory. But he did not keep quiet, and he did not agree with that political pressure, and he always said that I believe it is heliocentric theory only, and geocentric theory is not the original one. That means it's not a valid one. So for that thing, this person Galileo has been put into jail, has been exiled, he has been assaulted publicly, etc. etc. Then after this comes our hero, the most famous scientist of physics, Newton. Now, what did Newton do? Formulated a theory which states, or which gives an equation of force of gravity as Gm by r square. He formulated with that equation. Now, this famous Newton's equation, or the Newton's law about gravitation, is stated to be universal law of gravitation. This is said to be universal law of gravitation. Now, what do you mean by universe? Universal refers with any place in the universe, in the whole universe. That means this law is applicable anywhere in the universe. Now, let us study in detail about this. Let us consider two masses, m1 and m2, separated by a distance from the center of this mass to the center of other mass, separated by a distance r. Now, these two will have attractive forces. We are considering only attractive forces and not repulsive forces, because point masses are said to have attractive forces among them. So now when you see, or when you try to achieve the magnitude of force among them, that will be f of g, that is force among these two. As we are studying with the gravity, that is going to be force of gravitation. This Fg would be proportional to product of masses. This is said to be law of masses, law of product of masses. Force of attraction between 2 point masses is directly proportional to product of masses, said to be law of product of masses. And we also have another thing called as inverse square law, where this force between 2 point masses is inversely proportional to square of distance between them. Inversely proportional to square of